Welcome to the Stock Market Daily News podcast for Monday, December 8th, 2025. I'm summarizing all the major action from Friday, December 7th, so you're caught up for the week ahead. It was a mixed finish for Wall Street on Friday. The S&P 500 closed slightly up at 5,030 points, while the Dow Jones edged higher to 39,200. The Nasdaq ended flat, still digesting a year of rapid gains led by technology stocks. While indexes closed at or near fresh highs, underneath the surface, investors are debating what comes next, especially as headlines swirl around commodities, artificial intelligence, and a flurry of bullish calls on global markets. Stick with me as we break down the most impactful market stories and what they mean for your portfolio. Let's kick things off with the story that's driving some of the boldest 2026 forecasts. Commodities are back in the spotlight. Bank of America is calling commodities the top run-it-hot trade for 2026. The Vanguard Commodity Strategy Fund has surged 17% year-to-date, outpacing the S&P. Gold, in particular, is up a remarkable 60% this year, its best run since the 70s, as central banks worldwide increase buying, and investors look for safe havens from inflation and geopolitical volatility. With fiscal spending still strong and trade tensions pushing deglobalization, commodities like oil, metals, and especially gold are seeing renewed momentum. For traders and long-term investors, commodities are looking increasingly attractive as both a growth and a protective play. Meanwhile, China has staged a major comeback. The MSCI China Index soared about 30% this year, adding a staggering $2.4 trillion in market value and outpacing the S&P 500. Top asset managers like Amundi and Fidelity expect further gains in 2026, driven by artificial intelligence innovation and renewed capital inflows. Foreign long-only funds bought $10 billion in Chinese shares through November, reversing last year's massive outflows. For global investors, China is becoming a must-watch market as its tech and consumer sectors power higher and local savings shift from real estate into equities. Back at home, the AI bubble debate is in full swing. Nearly half of all U.S. stocks are down on the year, even as the S&P rallies 14%, thanks mainly to a tight group of mega-cap tech names like Nvidia, Microsoft, and Google. Nvidia is up 40% year-to-date, but even that trails the explosive gains in smaller chip and AI infrastructure stocks, with Western Digital soaring over 240%. Advisors are warning about extreme concentration and stretched valuations, noting the S&P's top 10 companies now represent nearly 40% of the entire index. For everyday investors, the message is clear. It's time to reevaluate portfolio concentration and consider rebalancing toward value stocks, mid-caps, and international funds to hedge against a sudden tech pullback. On the IPO front, India's e-commerce giant Meesho is set to make its market debut this week after its $5.4 billion IPO was subscribed 79 times. Gray market premiums are pointing to a possible 38% listing gain, reflecting massive institutional and retail appetite. Meesho's revenues jumped to 9,390 crore rupees last year, though the company remains loss-making for now. Investors are betting Meesho can convert impressive user growth into eventual profitability, but analysts warn that lofty valuations for unprofitable tech firms could turn volatile if growth slows. Finally, let's not forget the real estate and currency stories shaping global portfolios. As market euphoria continues in equities, Indian real estate is emerging as a safe haven hedge, with structural trends like urbanization and infrastructure spending supporting prices. Meanwhile, the Indian rupee just hit a record low of 90 to the dollar, increasing the urgency for global diversification. With overseas investment limits on domestic funds, investors are turning to new vehicles like gift city funds and international brokerage platforms for global exposure. Advisors recommend gradually building 10 to 30% of your portfolio in overseas assets to protect against rupee depreciation. That's your whirlwind recap. The S&P 500 closed just above 5,030, the Dow climbed past 39,200, and the Nasdaq hovered near recent highs. Commodities are heating up, China is making a comeback, and debates rage over tech bubbles and diversification. Looking ahead, keep an eye on upcoming U.S. inflation data, key Fed statements, and of course, those highly anticipated earnings from both tech leaders and new IPOs. Don't forget to subscribe to the Stock Market Daily News podcast for your essential market roundups and visit our website for in-depth analysis and resources. We'll be back tomorrow with more market-moving headlines and expert insights. Thanks for listening, and have a profitable day.